I've just been uprooted from school, only to find out my stepmother was keeping my father's illness from me. I've come here with my story because I have no one to tell. I don't have any friends at school apart from, a few of my online friends. I did not even want to go to boarding school in the first place, but when my father got married to my stepmother, he sent me away within a couple of months. I only know very little about her. In the few interactions that I have had with her, she's always been so nice to me. The only thing I don't like about her is her impatience. Sometimes when I'm home for the holidays, she takes me and my stepbrother Tyler out for dinner. It's always hell going out with her because she drinks too much and ends up insulting our waiters. We once got banned from returning to a Chinese restaurant after she made an inappropriate joke. Well, my father knows nothing about this. I've not told him because I barely spend any time with him. I assume that he wants to spend time with his colleagues and has no time for his biological son. I do have grandparents, but he got estranged from them a long time ago and he refuses to tell me what happened between them. I've always been an antisocial child. I keep to myself. I play games, surf when I have the chance, and I read. At school, I'm considered a loser, and I don't even have one friend. I asked my father to bring me back so many times that I lost count. But every time there's always been an excuse after an excuse, and he says that I'm troubled, and I could only get the help I need at our school. I've been diagnosed with a personality disorder, but I will not tell you what it is because I just don't think that it contributes to the story. What you need to know is that I have found it very hard to adjust at school due to being bullied. A couple weeks ago, I've been having trouble sleeping because I was overwhelmed with applying to college and deciding which course I wanted to take. I'm 16, but soon I will be 17 and a senior. I spoke to the school counselor who told me that I needed to increase my GPA if I wanted a good chance of getting into college of my choice. Because of the stress, I was a bit angsty. One of the guys who bothered me every chance he could decided to pick the morning to be like a fly in my ear. He could not leave me alone. Even if I told him to leave me alone or ignored him, unfortunately for me, we shared 3 of the same morning classes. You would think that the teachers would do something, but the students have their own rules. And, those take precedence over the school rules. Early in the afternoon, he said something about me that made me mad. I lost it. I fought with him. It was a very nasty little scrap, where I managed to break his nose and bruise him. Now that I have had time to think about it, I am ashamed, but I don't regret it, because the fight has helped to expose to me what is really going on at home. When we were sent to the principal's office, the principal was disappointed with me. The guy I fought with lied and said that I incited the fight, so when I was suspended for a week, I was told to stay in my dorm and do a bit of work around the school as punishment. 2 days after I was suspended, the boy's father felt as if my punishment was too lenient, so they decided to send me home for a week. While they considered a disciplinary hearing, I knew that his dad only had power because of the donations he made to the school, so I called up my father, but I did not get a hold of him. I did not get a hold of my stepmother as well, but I had some cash on me, and my school is only about an hour away from home, so I told the secretary that somebody was coming to pick me up and I left. The plan was to go home, tell my father how terrible the school is, and stay with him again. I could take care of myself, and I could even get along with stepmom, but I did not want to remain at that school. I arrived home at night where our butler, though surprised to see me, led me to my room. I decided to sleep and then explain later to my father if he had not even seen the emails. I could already hear my father saying that I was embarrassing him. I've always sought my father's approval, but it's always seemed like I just can't be good enough. I have a feeling when he retires, my stepbrother Tyler is going to take over. Not that I mind, because Tyler's not a bad person. I can count the number of meaningful interactions we've ever had in the past 4 years with my hands. He sticks to his mom, goes to college, and has a social life unlike me. All night, I tried to think of a good explanation, hoping my father would not send me to military school. The next morning, I had no choice but to go downstairs for breakfast. When I came downstairs, my stepmother and stepbrother were present, but there was no sign of my dad. My stepmom, Laura, barely said hi to me when she went back to texting. Tyler exchanged a few words with me, then he said that he was headed back to college. I asked my stepmother where my father was, and she told me that he's on a business trip, but she did not tell him that, well, what I've done. I was grateful for the random act of kindness I received from her. Normally, she would not shut her mouth. It was not because, well, she hated me, but because if she receives any kind of information, she has to tell another person within 30 minutes. This reminds me of one year when we were snowed in and I was stuck with her house. She took it upon herself to treat me like her best friend, tell me all the drama in her friendship group. I was 12, easy to bribe with hot chocolate, so it's not that bad of an experience. But the point is that she gossips a lot. I knew that before the end of the day, the whole town would know that I've been suspended for fighting. Seeing as I was not going to see my father, I went out for a walk and then to the comic book store. The owner is a friend of mine whom I've known since I could read. We caught up in the latest comics and he told me what I was going on in my life. And then he asked, "How's your father feeling? I'm sure it must be difficult as he's in a critical state." "Well, what do you mean?" The second stroke your father suffered this year." Yes, of course, we're just holding out hope." "Oh, well, he's lucky he has a son willing to take time off of school to come visit him." Guys, I was so mad. So, I was the last person to know that my father was sick, huh? No wonder my stepmom has been so dismissive that morning. She could not tell my father if he was in the hospital fighting for his life. How could she not tell me? Well, I knew where to go. I got a cab, went to the hospital, went up to reception and told them I was there to see my father. I was angry. I hoped that he would be awake so that I could scold him for not telling me sooner. I could have come back home and taken care of him, but when I saw him, well, I lost all my words. He was just lying there, the heart monitors beeping and beeping loudly. He turned frail and looked like he would never wake up again. I sat next to him and did not say a word. I mean, what could I say? After some time, a nurse came back to check on him and I grilled her. Since I was his son, she was able to tell me some things without jeopardizing his job. Since last year, he's been coming in for checkups. He's had symptoms of a chronic illness, but the test came back inconclusive or negative for what they tested for. Well, then he had his first stroke, where he lost the use of his right leg. But he was back in action after some time, but 2 months ago he had been hospitalized after becoming very ill, where he had his second stroke. The doctor told me that he was not going to have a normal life after this, but he just needed the support of his family. When I went back home, I saw my stepmom. She was out by the pool with her friend, drinking something and laughing, and I got a burst of anger. Walked up to her and threw her drink into the pool. At this moment, she shrieked at me, asking me what was wrong with me. Well, I asked her, "What's wrong with you?" Why would she not tell me my father's ill? She asked if I was a doctor who could cure him, and she felt that I had to focus on school and I was of no use here. Of course I was of use here. Tyler was busy with college while she was busy living her best life. I asked her when was the last time she visited father she blanked. I told her that I was not going back to that school and she could not make me. She told me I'm under 18 and she's my guardian since my father's sick. And I told her that she would have to drag me back there kicking and screaming. I was very stern, so she gave up. It's been 2 weeks and I'm still home. My father is awake sometimes, but he's weak. He tells me not to worry and go back to school, but I don't want to. I cannot lose another parent and wish that I've been there for their final moments. His wife doesn't even see him. She acts as if everything's hunky-dory and it sickens me. I've always doubted her love for my father, but now that I see it, it's not there. All she cares about spending his money and not taking care of him. I spoke to a friend of my father's who was able to organize for my father to move back home. We have the money to pay for a nurse, and I think that as he's surrounded by people he's familiar with, then he'll start to feel better. And we managed to do that. But now my father wants me to go back to school. Every second that he's awake, he goes on and on about my future, so now I have to convince him to at least get me enrolled at a school nearby. But to be honest, I don't trust leaving him with anyone. My stepmother might just do something so that she can get her inheritance. What do you guys think? Should I go back to school or watch over my dad? I don't even care what happens at school anymore. I'm just so angry that I did not know earlier. I did not even pay attention to the fact that he did not accept video calls anymore. He preferred to text. But you do agree with me that my stepmother was wrong to keep his illness from me, right? What's up, everybody? Mr. Reddito here. Today's story is a rather sad one, but guys, there is multiple updates to hop into. The first update came out 3 months later. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and click that subscribe button for more daily videos, and let's jump into update number 1. Hey everyone. Life has been a bit rough lately. I forgot to check back in and give an update. In fact, I was too disheartened to write it down because that would make it real. But think that I'm really going to tell you what happened. Thank you for the advice and prayers. They have been helpful during this period of mourning. My father passed away a few days after my post. They said that he was not in pain, and I can only hope so. He would have hated his funeral, but there was nothing I could do about it. My stepmother turned it into some fancy event where she networked with people instead of celebrated his life. Ugh. She did not even remain at his grave once he had been lowered. She was too, heartbroken. Of course. But it sure looked like a show to me. I stayed at his grave for a long time after everybody left. Time seemed to stand still as I thought of all the things I wished I could say to him. I regretted some of the fights and things I said to him. I wish my stepmom had not kept me away when he was sick. She claimed that she was trying to protect me because of what happened to my mother. I think that was such a lame excuse. It should have been my choice if I wanted to see him or not. Tyler is the only one who came back for me. He managed to get me into his car, take me to a coffee shop, and get me some food. He tried to talk to me, but I was not in the mood. When I went back home, I cried. I felt my heart break over and over again, and the next few days were worse as I realized that I was now under the guardianship of my stepmom. To her credit, she gave me a few days to grieve before she cornered me. She told me that she would be responsible for me now and that as long as I cooperated, nothing could happen to me. But I realized then that I was at her mercy. I knew that she was going to probably get everything, but I did not know how much. I was scared. She never liked me. She could throw me out if she wanted to, send me to a foster home, and I would not be able to do a thing about it. After all, I am 18, and even if my father left me something, she was the guardian. There was no question about it. She was the one who was going to be calling the shots from now on. My father's last will was read 2 months after his passing, and there was a few predictable things. 3/4 of his insurance money went to her, while the rest went to me. Tyler, well, he got some stuff as well. My father was well off, and he made sure that we would be taken care of. Unfortunately for me, my stepmother got the power of attorney until I turned 18, which is not anytime soon. After the will was read, I asked her if she would give me money and I would be on my way, and that was how I saw her change, right there in front of my eyes. Leaving me confused, I need your help to see if she means me harm or not. She told me that if there was one thing she regretted, it was that she was never a real parent to me. She told me that she's never had a good maternal instinct, but I was also her child. She said before my father passed away, he told her to take good care of me and not to let me get out into the world alone. She told me that she wants to officially adopt me and try to have a relationship with me. Trust me, I was taken aback. We've never been close. She's not maternal even to her own son. So I asked her why she would burden herself with me. Your father had big dreams for you. He loved you, but he felt guilty that he was unable to be there for you when you needed him. I want to change that. I want to try even to be guardian for you. We can get you enrolled in a school of your choice. Well, what's in it for you? As you know, your father's estate's fragmented. I would need you to transfer your share to me, of course. That would make it easier for me to protect his assets, and you would not have to stress about a thing. Just make sure that you get a good education. I promise to love you as my own and do right by you." Well, she appeared so genuine when she said that. She said that it would take time, but she would be willing to work towards it. I have never even considered her as my mom, but the truth is that I do not have another adult I can trust. I have no idea where the rest of my extended family is. I'm under 18. I can't do a lot of things on my own. Maybe it would not be a bad idea to trust her with my share of the inheritance. Maybe she will do right by me. Love me like a real mother, maybe. She seems to have done a good job with Tyler, and to be honest, she's never been cruel towards me. We have just never had a proper relationship. So, what do you think I should do? Should I allow her to adopt me and give up my inheritance? Update number 2. I had no choice but to try and tell him. What's up, guys? Mr. Reddito here. Quick interruption just to let you know. This next update comes from the perspective of Tyler. That's right, OP's stepbrother. So let's hop into the update. Hey everyone, my name's Tyler. My stepbrother Rowan posted on here. I will link his post because I really just need him to see this just in case. Both of our names are not real, but he will know it's me because I said that I'm Tyler, of course. I remember seeing them when he first posted about him and sympathizing with him. I had no idea that it was him and that all of this stuff was even happening. I'll be honest, I'm very oblivious of a person and nowhere near as smart as my stepbrother. For me, it's just college, friends, enjoying life, I don't know. I thought he knew his father was sick, but that he preferred to stay at his boarding school. But after reading his update where he mentioned me going back for him at his father's grave, that's when I knew that it was him. I saw the post a few days ago, but he clearly posted this several weeks ago. My mother told me that she wanted to adopt Rowan. She said she had good intentions and she did not want him to be alone in this world. I asked her if it would not be better to look for his relatives and give him a chance of whom to stay with. I know my mom. She's far from motherly. Her priorities are so materialistic. That's something that I've had to deal with when I was growing up, and that's when I started to suspect that she was trying to trick him into signing over his stuff, but would not hold up the end of the deal. Mom's never cared about him, so why would she promise to be his mother until he graduated all of a sudden? I just had a bad feeling about it and no proof. I also did not know what to say. Rowan and I are not close at all. When we are in each other's presence, we ignore each other. But what I have found out is very crucial. I would tell him, but I'm just away from home and I fear that Mom would find out that I snitched. And if she found out that I snitched, I'm afraid of what she would do to me. A week ago, I came home from college early. My college is only 30 minutes away from home, so I came back home frequently because of the perks. When I come home, my mother was not present, so I figured she's out shopping. I needed to use the computer to do some research on an article. Unfortunately for me, my laptop was acting up. It's extremely slow ever since some water spilled on it. I need to get it fixed, but I've just been too busy to go about it, so these days I just use my mom's. I went to her room, and that's where I worked for the rest of the afternoon. After I finished working, I decided to check out one of my favorite sites to see if a new pair of sneakers I wanted was available. I was lucky to find out there was a coupon. So I entered her email address and went to her email to confirm. The last page that she had opened on her email address was an exchange with my stepfather's lawyer. And oh boy, it was juicy. I was shocked as I read what my mother was really up to. It made me see her from a different light. A light I wish I never saw. I now know she is no saint, but she never seemed to be a person who could throw another person under the bus like this. Contrary to what most of you probably think, she loved my stepfather. He came into our lives at a time when my biological father abandoned us, and he helped her get faith back in humanity. But what I was reading in those emails absolutely made me lose faith in her. She was telling the lawyer to draft the contract in such a way that my stepbrother would not be able to claim anything when he turned 18. And she kicked him out. She planned to send him back to boarding school because she had no time to babysit another woman's child. I was deeply disturbed by what I read. Therefore, I've come to the conclusion that my mother's trying to trick him into signing over everything with no intention of honoring her promises. I cannot stand by and let Rowan suffer like this. I know that you'll see this. My advice is that as soon as you see this, try to find out about your grandparents. Despite what you were led to believe, your grandparents are closer than you think, and they can help you. I know they had a falling out with your dad, but I have no idea why. I did overhear my mom and your dad talking about it years ago. Since they're grown-ups, I'm sure they can help you. Or even take you in if they cannot force my mother to sign over your inheritance to them. I wish that we have gotten a chance to be real brothers, but I cannot stand by and let such injustice happen. I know my mom wants to sign and finalize everything soon, so you need to act soon because I have no idea about the extent of her plans. I don't know, what should I do to help? I feel very guilty but very scared as well. What's up guys, Mr. Reddito here. So, now we're going to see another update and we're back to the original perspective of Rowan. So here we go. It opens up with the line, "I am mind blown." So, I'm mind blown. It did not take me long to find the post and to know that he was talking about me. I just wanted to thank him for this bravery for standing up, and I thank everyone in the comments who were in support of him for trying this hardest to warn me. As for those who said that what he's doing is not enough, I ask you not to be so harsh on him. He owed me nothing. He could have left the emails like that. In fact, it would have been better for him and his mom if I signed everything over. But he showed great integrity. I've decided to try and find my grandparents. I don't know what happened between them and my father, though. I wonder if they even know that he passed away. I'm so nervous, and I hope that they'll be able to help me. Update number 3. Hey guys, me again. I managed to stall my stepmom, who still has no idea that I'm on to her. She's already begun suggesting schools for me. A mixture of normal schools and boarding schools, of course. I've been doing some homeschooling as well, just to keep up, but I will likely have to repeat a year. I need to because it's been such a roller coaster and I've lost focus and interest in so many things. But there's good news. I hired a private investigator, don't ask me how I got the money, and it was not hard for him to narrow down the people that I'm looking for. The couple who are the most likely to be my grandparents actually live in the next town, and they are lawyers. They appear to have an extensive history in the legal sector and to be very respected. In the pictures that I've seen, they appear to be non-nonsense. I was already intimidated when I first saw them, but I had to do what I had to do. I hoped that they would at least take me in. I did not want to live with my stepmom anymore. And so then, I packed a bag, told my stepmom I was going somewhere with friends, and then headed there. The first night I went to their house, a modest little house on the outskirts of town, but I chickened out and went back to my motel, where I wanted to kick myself, but I decided to try again. So, I visited them yet again. It was a Sunday, and I figured that they might be in a better mood on Sunday. I knocked on the door, and a man who looked just like my father, but a bit younger, opened up. I asked for my grandfather by his surname, telling that man that I had something important to tell him. Dad, there's someone here for you, he shouted and let me in. I heard laughter in another room and realized with mortification that I'd shown up during a family lunch. An older gentleman came out of a room and came to stand in front of me. Then he let out a gasp and touched his chest. The next thing I knew, he was on the floor. Had I just killed my own grandfather with my presence? Update number 4. Sorry guys, I was interrupted while I was writing the last post and I realized that was a bit of a cliffhanger. Don't worry, I did not end the life of an old man. I'm actually in my father's old room right now. My grandparents have gone out to speak to some friends because they believe that they have a solution to my problem. But before we get to that, let me give you a quick rundown of what went down. So, my grandfather was fine. He just has high blood pressure, and the shock of seeing him caused his blood pressure to shoot up through the roof. But once he was awake and he explained to everyone who I was, there was a lot of explaining to do. It was a lot to take in. My uncle and his wife, his kids, and other extended family members. They left after finding who I was, but grandmother promised to update them later. Many years ago, my grandfather and grandmother were two big-shot lawyers. My father had just gotten out of business school and was working for his first job at the law firm. He asked my grandfather for money to invest, so grandfather gave him his inheritance and told him that if he squandered it, he would not get any more. Well, my father's plan fell through, but what he did next was way worse. He convinced his little brother to give him his inheritance, thinking that he would be able to recover the money. He did not, and his parents were mad at him to the point of disowning him. So, my father left town and they never saw him again. They tried to find him after time had passed and they were in more of a forgiving mood, but it was impossible. That's because my father changed his surname when he moved away. He did eventually become successful, but he never looked for them, up until he passed away. His parents were deeply saddened by the fact that he died, and they regretted not looking for him with much effort, but they were happy that I'd come to look for them. That night, I did not tell them what brought me there, because, well, I slept in my father's room where I felt like I was home. I had the most comfortable sleep in my whole life. I dreamt of a good thing for once instead of emptiness. The next afternoon, I sat them down and told them everything. I know it's too much to ask, but I don't want my stepmom to be my legal guardian, but I'm under 18, and there are chances that they would put me in a foster home. I would like to request that you guys become my legal guardian till I turn 18. Then I can leave, and you will not have to deal with me. My grandmother frowned and asked what rubbish I was talking about. My heart stopped as I realized that my biggest fear had come true. I would be too much of a burden to them while they were enjoying their retirement. Of course, they did not have a bond with me just like with their grandchildren, so why would they want me? My mood shifted from a more hopeful one to despair. And I quote you this. You are our family. You do not have to beg for lodging. We will sign anything that we need to sign, and you will soon be with your family. She smiled at me warmly. I wanted to cry, especially when she pulled me closer to her and she hugged me. She smelled like caramel, which was strangely enough my mother's scent. One of the few things I remember about her. So, they've gone out now to see what they can do about my adoption to make it quick and painless. They're still practicing as lawyers, but only when certain cases pique their interest. My grandfather prefers pro bono cases, while grandma likes more complicated ones. They're committed to making change in the world, and they really do inspire me. Update number 5. 2 months later. Guys, my grandparents are the best. They went above and beyond what I asked for them to do, and I just needed them to be my legal guardian. I did not care too much about the money, knowing that she was going to have an iron grip on it. But my grandparents would not hear about, taking advantage of me like that. Firstly, we got my adoption finalized. They worked some sort of magic and the process was done within a few weeks. At some point, my stepmother realized that I was not going back home. She blew up my phone with threats to put me in the foster care system, but we both knew that she needed me. She would never. Eventually, we graced her with our presence, and when we let her know that I was suing for my inheritance to be given to my legal guardians, only she could do that unless we got a court order and it proved that she did not have the best intentions. She changed back into the stepmother I recognized, who was spiteful and hateful. She told me to bring all that I had. She's not scared of some old man and woman. She underestimated them, I'll tell you that right now. And to be honest, I did too. I thought maybe we could get a little bit of money, and I did not expect them to destroy her in court. It was absolutely brutal. I don't even know how they found out the stuff they did, but they were able to prove that she had no intentions of taking care of me. She just wanted the money. They got friends of hers who were testifying in her favor to admit some damning things about her character and her habits. I don't know how they did it. It reminded me to never lie to them. We were in court for over 2 months, and in those months I stayed with them and got to know them. Outside of court, they were the sweetest people ever. Grandmother entertained me with pictures and videos of my father in his youth, while grandfather taught me how to do simple things like tie a tie, change a tire, etc. He was not always quick and, he's tired quickly, but he had a lot of wisdom to give me. Slowly but surely, I got to know my extended family. It took a while to fully warm up to them, but I could tell that they were very good people. And then the judge had to make a decision about my inheritance. Both sides fought hard, but my grandparents were just too darn good. For they managed to get me at least half of my father's life insurance. This was a lot more than we initially wanted. I was overjoyed, shocked you could say, that they would do so much for me. Someone that they had only met a while ago. My stepmother was spitting fire. She promised to get revenge on me, but that was the last that we heard from her. We got a restraining order against her, and not that she would come near me since I don't even live in that town anyways. I'm just going back to school in a few weeks. It will be a normal school, not a private school, where I will come back home every day. Update number 6. 1 year later, this is the final update. Guys, I'll be honest with you, I thought that was my last update, and I nearly did not even post this again, but I figured that since you have all been helpful during the past year, you deserve to know this. My stepmother had been admitted to rehab. It's not the first time. I saw my stepbrother a few days ago. We exchanged a few pleasantries and decided to get a bite to eat. I also wanted to pick his brain regarding college. Things are going well at school. I should graduate when I'm 19 or even earlier since I'm doing so well for someone who missed a lot of school. He told me he recently graduated college and got a job in his town. His mother started taking opioids. Well, then she moved on to other things and squandered the money away she had. She got a young boyfriend who ended up being violent towards her. Tyler tried to help, but she kicked him out. Then, a month ago, Tyler gets a message that concerned friends sent her to rehab for the second time. He says that she's not adjusting well and is going to stay for a very long time until she gets her stuff in order. He's very depressed because of all this that's happening, but I tried to support him as much as I can. I'm not a fan of his mom, but I greatly respect him and understand his suffering. What do you guys think you should do about this? Well, I want to know what you should do about his mother, because at this point, he says he wants to go no contact. Well, that's the end of my story. Go ahead and drop some comments down below about what Tyler should do, but guys, it's over.